Hello everyone, my name is Beowulf, we are Alpha X, and this is Clem versus Reynor, the lower bracket of DreamHack Masters Fall, the European Edition. And you know what? Before we get on into things, before we get really into this game, into this series, I would like to remind all of you to like, comment, subscribe, do all those fun things. It really helps us out. The algorithm, it makes it love us. It loves us just a little bit more with that. But now, folks, let's get into the game. In the upper left, in the blue, he is the little corporal from Team Liquid, Clem. And in the bottom right, in the red, the other kid of Europe, he is, for Clash Esports, Reynor. And as we get into this series, it should be noted, of course, that while Clem versus Reynor is always an incredible matchup, Reynor is not quite playing on the level playing field that he normally would be. He's on vacation at the time that these games are being played. He is playing on a mobile hotspot for part of it. He's not at his desk. You know, not exactly the most ideal playing conditions. That being said, he is Reynor. His opponent is Clem. This is still the playoffs of the DreamHack Masters. So we can expect some great games. Just throwing it out there, just like when we see players go cross-server, it is something that should be noted. You know, just to throw it out there, say, yeah, okay, well, if there's something that's a little bit weird, maybe this is going to be why. Anyways, now that that's out of the way, let's start talking about the game, or well, really not talking about the game at this point. We're about 2 minutes in. Reaper's popping out. You know, it's a Reaper expand. It's a 16, 18, 17 there from the Zerg player. Nothing too crazy. So let's start talking about what we expect out of this series as we do go on into things, because I think we're going to see a bit more of, well, a bit more early game aggression from both players than we're used to seeing. I mean, Clem versus Reynor is just known for these long, incredible macro games. But when you know your opponent is in a suboptimal position, you're gonna get aggressive against them. That just makes sense. And, you know, you say, look, you know, if I'm gonna try to stress them, they're already maybe not a best spot. Maybe I can get a cheap win or two there. But on the flip side, if you're in this position that you're like, okay, well, my mouse is kind of balancing on a book. I don't know how good my internet is. If you can take a cheap game early, then, well, that's a game that you don't have to like go to your utmost in the late game, because yes, cheats take skill, all-ins take skill, but it's a different type of skill than trying to play a 30-minute game where you're controlling two armies the entire time and keeping your macro up and keeping your multitasking up. It's just a different level of skill. It's more of a tactical skill than just a pure mechanics layer of skill. But anyways, the Reaper's going to look to dive on in. Was not able to get the first Creeper tumor, but will get the second. Although this third one should get on up here. The Queens are defending it well enough, and the Reaper is low. But man, that was a ballsy move there in with that Reaper. I mean, we're kind of at the point where the Reaper is not all that useful anyways, although, you know, it is nice to have it when you have the Hellions on in. But the Reaper is going to get target fired down immediately as the Hellions look to dive on into the main base. I mean, it's only two Hellions. It takes two volleys here for the Hellions to get anything done, but it really is just primarily a scout. I mean, these lineups are a little bit scary, but it's not going to be all that much. What was that? 2 workers go down. And that really should be it. Yeah, there's just nothing. Well, okay, he's going to get 4, actually. Surprisingly enough, this does pay for itself at the end of the day. Now, Hellion is diving out into the natural as well. Clem, again, just looking to punish the playing situation of Reynor in this game number 1. That being said, 5 workers is not the end of the world, even if it is a lot more than you would like to get. I mean, yes, it is a economic problem. It does put Reynor a little bit behind, but really, more than anything, we're talking about mental damage here. The one big deal is with the Hellions dying off, we're not in the type of game where Reynor has taken significant damage on his Queens, where the creep spread has been really curtailed in any significant fashion, which means this Banshee, even as it does have Cloak finishing in the next 20-30 seconds, is not going to accomplish nearly as much as it might, say, if the Queens were low, if their creep spread between the main and the third was not as good as it is. I mean, again, it was curtailed a little bit just by the Hellions diving on in, which of course forced the Queens to run on in run back on into the main base, make life a little bit more difficult. So the Banshee's going to dive in. Not going to get much done. That's fine. Really what we're waiting for here is the addition of this second Banshee. Because that's where things get a little bit spicy. That's where things get even more interesting. Because, well, Banshees, they one-shot work, or two Banshees, one-shot workers. Even if one is rather low, well, you should just be able to have the first Banshee go on and do that. So the alien's going to look to dive on in. They will roast one drone immediately, but they're not going to look to dive on into the mineral lines. Just too many queens, too many links here. They're going to prevent that type of aggression coming on in from Clem. And now Reynor, he's going to be able to get a Banshee as well. Again, we're talking about the sheer ability that two Banshees have compared to one. Well, now it's just going to be one Banshee. Yeah, it looks like he's going to get a worker or two. But, well, that is going to be that. The kind of the stage of this early game pressure for the most part from Clem. I mean, he's still going to be active on the edges of creep, but his ability to get anything done or anything significant done with the Reaper, with the Banshee after this point, it's not there. Again, speed is done. The economy of Reynor is on 60 workers, so it's good enough that he can, you know, pump 20 lings. Not be too happy about it, but not be too unhappy either. And we'll just go from there, especially as we've been talking about, this creep spread has just not been curtailed all that much. I mean, this is masterful creep spread here from Reynor. He owns the middle of the map. He owns, what, 2 scans away from it, or he owns at least 1 scan from his 4th base. Like 2 layers of creep trimmers there, making life rather difficult indeed for Clem for any sort of eventual push. That being said, again, Banshee, we said it wasn't going to get much. Well, we got 3 more workers, and that is a lot more than you can ever expect from a 7-minute Banshee that has already lost its brother. Okay, so now 1-1 on the way here for Reynor. It's going to be a bit behind the 1-1 of his opponent. But realistically, when we look at these early mid-game, really more mid-game Terran pushes, yes, 1-1 versus 0-0 is a powerful timing, but so long as the Zerg player has Baneling speed, it doesn't really make that big of a difference. Of course, Ling Bane on creep is perhaps the most supply-efficient composition in the game. I do like what we see Clem doing here. I mean, these Hellions at this point aren't all that useful, but it's better to just keep them there, have them poking at the edges. Maybe they can cut off some creep later on. Maybe they can dive a mineral line if they're lucky and just, well, make something happen. As long as they're there, that does mean that Reynor has to pay attention to the left-hand side even more than he would just be passively doing. Nice split there on the Banelings as they look to roll on in, but Clem's also on top of things. So Reynor, he's just going to trigger down, knock down the rest of the supply depots that are getting built. 2 workers go down. The big deal, of course, is Clem getting supply blocked just a little bit, and his armory is late. And with the armory being late here, that means that Reynor will be able to recover some of the timing that he has missed with the 1-1 versus the 0-0, the 2-2 versus the 1-1. But now, Clem, again, he's just getting active. I mean, if we look at the mini-map here, we have 3 different clumps of army here on the map. 1 on the right, 1 in the middle, 1 on the left. Nice splits there from Reynor, and he's not going to take too much damage from these Widow Mines. That being said, there's no detection there for the time being, so that's a bit of a problem. And we talked about, well, Hellions maybe running against doing something later on. Well, Hellbat waddle-throughs, they're not going to get much. I like the idea, but it's not going to do much. And what it does actually do is it gives Reynor a decent idea of just exactly when that armory was done. So he's going to know just how far behind his 1-1 is, or his 2-2 is going to be compared to the 2-2 of his opponent. So honestly, with that not getting much done, I almost feel like that's just more information for Reynor than the value of the run by itself. Anyway, Clem just swarming all over the map at this point. These Baneling run bys from Clem or from Reynor, they're doing what they can, but I mean, Clem is just on top of this. Banelings, they're going to make some connections. 2 workers will go down, and hey, you know, a Baneling's going to get, or Widowmine's going to get triggered. But Clem is just looking really strong here in this game. Number 1, the creep spread that we were talking about just about a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes ago, saying, wow, this is really good, it has started to recede. We have this double drop here on the right-hand side. It's going to assassinate a queen, get a couple workers. But again, the creep spread is the big thing. So now Banelings lanes, they're going to look to roll on into the 3rd base. Banelings, though, they're not going to get much done. Zerglings, they're going to be forced back for the rally. And yes, this double drop on the right-hand side is going to be delayed for the time being. But now Clem, he's in the main base. 1 queen is going to go down. Zerglings, they're filtering on in. This is not the fight that they want, not at all. And notice Reynor, in all the chaos and all the madness, he has not had the money to start +2 attack. He's got +1 Carapace on the way rather late. He had a timing where he was only going to be about 15-20 seconds late with his 2-2 compared to his opponents. But He was delayed on that. He's only getting +2 carapace, so his attack, his Zerglings are not going to fight all that well, and Clem is just swarming all over the map at this point. Army in the 3rd, army in the 4th. The drop in the main has been, well, curtailed for the time being, but now, I mean, this army from Clem, what can you do? It's just a bunch of Zerglings there. Zerglings against Marines. Well, that's not the best trade. That's not what you're looking for. So these Widow Mines everywhere here as, yeah, Clem now dropping on into the main base as well. We're starting to see Reynor crack at the seams. I mean, it's not even a matter of APM so much as EPM. And multitasking, Reynor just choosing where to fight, when to fight, how to fight, and why to fight. And Clem is just making that decision-making process so damn difficult. So there we go. 2-2 is now done. Carapace is going to be done eventually, but not in the short term. And now Clem, he's just going to be able to take advantage of this massive fight. Yeah, that's going to be a decent mainly connection there. And that is the kind of thing that Reynor's going to have to start to do if he wants to fight his way back into this game. But notice Clem, he's even target firing some of the banelings as they do go on in, as they run off a creep there. Now, Reynor does have his hive, and he does have an Ultralisk Cavern on the way, although we see no Adrenal, we see no Ultra or Ultra Carapace, none of that. So even if these well, we can't have Ultralisk Carapace yet because Ultra Cavern's not done. So never mind. But these Zerglings are not going to be quite as effective as they might otherwise be. Again, Adrenal Glands is effectively +3 for Zerglings. It's effectively +3 attack with how much attack speed you do get. But anyways, now we're going to have the Banelings look to roll it in. Of course, Drilling Claws is now done, which means that can be even more effective. And that connection there on so many Banelings is going to make it such a big deal here. This is not an army that Clem can fight, or that Reynor can fight here on the left-hand side, not with the position that Clem has found himself in. So the 5th base of Reynor is going to go on down, and I love this from Clem. He says, you know what, to hell with it. I know the position I'm in this game. I know it is a dominant one. I'm not even going to worry about defending my 3rd base. I'm just going to pick my base up. I'm going to take it. I'm going to go on home. As long as my SCVs survive, it does not really matter. I can suffer the inconsistent mining in the short term because mules are a powerful thing. So Clem pushing on in, not quite at the supply lead that he had previously. These splits from Reynor are absolutely godlike. So Reynor will be able to clean this up at least a little bit. And now he's just dropping the main base, actually getting a medevac, so that's going to be rather nice indeed. But this is where problems start to form here. Clem is just going to target fire down the spawning pool. And these Zerglings that are such the core things. I mean, you can't build Banelings without Zerglings, certainly not. Well, they're not going to come out all that well after all. Now, if Reynor can survive for another, I don't know, 5 minutes, get his Ultra Cavern up, maybe there's an opportunity here, because this is just purely a Marine Widow Mine. Widow Mine, medevac. Very few Marauders on the map right now. And very little production capability even for those Marauders. Maybe that's a timing that Reynor can hit, where he has a bunch of Ultras with Chitinous Plating, maybe with +3 Carapace, and they're just able to run on through this, again, primarily Marine army, and actually start to find some momentum. But that's a couple minutes out, and Reynor just really needs to stabilize at this point. I mean, Clem tried to make the killer move happen on the 3rd base of Reynor. He was not quite as successful as he would have liked. So maybe that's going to be a stay on execution for the time being, as we have big Zergling counterattack running out into that 3rd base that was lifted so recently. But of course, Clem, he's not just defending here. He's got a big push on the right-hand side. This Ultra is going to try to be kept alive for forever, but forever is not long enough, as the 5th base is going to go on down. Ugh, Reynor says, GG. Clem takes game number 1. So, game number 1 saw Clem really just establish an incredible tempo lead in the early game. And yeah, Reynor didn't really take a lot of damage from, well, that's not even true. You lost 5 workers to the Hellions, but he did a great job of establishing his creep spread early. He got his 4th base on time. He was kind of fine. But then we saw Clem start to pick away at the creep spread, really curtail Reynor on his quadrant of the map. Go here and there, and really it was that mid-game where Clem had 3 or 4 armies all active at different points. 3 different drops in his main army, or 1 drop and a Hellion run by in the main army, active on the map simultaneously. And that was when things started to become a really big problem for Reynor in that last game. He was just trying to stabilize and just was not really all that successful. So we're gonna have to see whether he can take a little bit less damage than he did in game number 1, and to give us a series here, or whether the conditions that he's in and Clem's just utter dominance in this matchup. Because let's be real, that is what this is at this point. And Clem, I mean, there's no one that can touch him in ZVT right now. I truly believe that. I don't know who can go into a matchup with a Clem at this point as a Zerg and say, yeah, I am confident I'm going to 3-0, 3-1, 3-2 this guy. Even a 3-2 is a massive victory against the young Frenchman. But now we're getting into game number 2. And it is a bit shorter of a map, even if Lightshade and Oxide are rather similar in scope. They're, similar rush distance. They kind of have a similar expansion pattern to them. Lightshade has a little bit more of a kind of discrete attack paths than Oxide does, and this really strong rally that a Terran can have onto the Zerg's 4th base from their 3rd, it's not really there. That, and of course the siege up position around the triangular 3rd, Lightshade doesn't have that either. So we're gonna have to see whether this is something that Clemson looks to lead on into, just a really strong parade push type idea, or like some sort of siege tank push, or whether he's got something else in mind. Or whether Reynor, he's like, okay, that game was rough. Let's see if I can take a quick victory in game number 2 off of something interesting and just pull it to a 1-1 rather quickly indeed. I'm not sure what these players opt to go for at this point, but it's always interesting to see how the game plan is, especially with players that run into each other so often. But again, we're going to see the Reaper try to be aggressive. And of course, often when a Reaper gets this aggressive, starts to try to trade this well early on, as a Zerg player, you're actually kind of happy about that. Because what that means is the Reaper's going to be on, a 3rd HP, 25 HP, maybe even 50% HP, and not in a position that they can contest the first creep tumor. So we saw here Reynor, his creep tumor that he made was like right on the very edge of his creeps, the most optimal kind of creep tumor placement you can look for. And that is, again, because Clem did trade heavily early. And look at this, though. It is a 3-minute lair coming on in from Reynor in this game number 2. And, folks, a 3-minute lair with the 3rd base does not tell us that this is a Reynor that is looking to just take a 3-base, go macro. No. There are a couple different builds that this can be. It could be Nidus. It's not going to be 2-base Muta. You don't get a 3rd this fast on 2-base Muta. And the gas count doesn't really support that either. So actually, I think it's just going to be some sort of Nidus play. Yeah, there we go. Roach Warren now going down as well. So it's going to be Roachling Nidus, Roachling Queen Nidus technically, on into the main base of Clem. Again, trying to just take a really quick game number 2, equalize this series before things can get really snowballing in favor of the Frenchman. So Roach Warren on down, Nidus Network coming on down, and it is once again a Banshee opener coming on in from the Frenchman, which is probably the optimal position that Clem could be opening at this point. That being said, he's not scouted any of this, and his cloak will not be done in time for this Nidus to pop up onto the high ground. So it's just gonna be Banshees, and Banshees against Queens without cloak. Well, that's a problem, and even then, there is a lair already done for Reynor in this game. So even if the Banshees are able to cloak on up, they're not going to be able to do all that much. So Nidus Network is just about done. We're going to see the Nidus pop on up into the main base, and we're going to have to see just how much Clem has prepared here to make the hold happen. Of course, Hellions on the other side of the map, and honestly, they're not going to do that much in the hold anyways. The way you hold against a Nidus play like this is you kill the Nidus before it can get off. So the scream, the notification has been popped here. Clem will find it, but to find it at halfway done, one Marine is not going to be enough. Hellions are going to be rallied on in. STV is getting pulled on in here, but it is not going to be enough here. Not enough to kill this off in time. So the Queens are going to pop on into the high ground. They got plenty of transfuses where that came from, actually. Reynor's not even going to bother transfusing. He says, look, you know what? I have enough roaches. I have enough Queens out on the high ground at this point. Does not matter whether the Nidus survives or not. I would rather save my energy for transfusing my Queens and my roaches, the actual army that's looking to fight here. So the Nidus is going to pop on up. The bunker will not complete. Banshee's doing what they can, but again, Banshee's into 5 Queens. It's nothing here, nothing whatsoever. So Reynor, he's on the high ground. He is pounding on in. 20 workers have already died. And yeah, Queen has died too, but again, as long as the Banshees are dead, the Queens, they don't even care. And now Zergling's looking to join the fray anyways. I mean, slow Zerglings against Hellions don't really do all that much. It does not matter at this point. 21 workers have died. Roaches are now finding their way on into the ramp. Nice last second splits here from Clem, just making, or from Reynor, just making sure that the roaches die as efficiently as possible. Yeah, this 3cc play that Clem had going for him off of Hellion Banshee was not the move, as Reynor, he takes game number 2 just like that. And so we get into game number 3 with a tied scoreline. As good as Clem looked in game number 1, I kind of almost thought it was going to be 2-0. That being said, with the damage that Reynor was able to get, and I think I said last game that, oh, you know, I really like Banshees against Roach Nidus. I do. I don't like Banshees against Roach Queen Nidus, and there were 5-6 queens on the map. Suddenly oh yeah, I just have Banshees and I hold against Roaches is fine. It's not really quite as effective. And yeah, especially the fact that Clem, he got his 3rd command center behind that Hellion Banshee play. I mean, that was just not really holdable at that point. It was a valid attempt, and if he was able to get a Banshee on top of the Nidus right as it popped, maybe he could do something, but just not enough DPS to kill off the Nidus network in time. But look at this. Reynor, he's a little bit happy with the idea of, oh, let's go aggressive. So it's going to be a pool first here in this game number 3. Now, it is a 15 or a 16 pool, so it's not going to be the most aggressive option. It's not like a 12 pool, and in fact, actually, as I think about this more, this is not an aggressive pool opening. Sorry, folks, that's not what's happening. Instead, this is Reynor kind of rolling the dice and saying, hey, Clem, I think you're going to proxy Rax me. So he just gets the 15 pool and says, well, if you proxy Rax me, I'm just going to have an advantage. And, well, considering the fact that there's no proxy Rax, minor advantage to Clem, not the end of the world, certainly not. But it's something. And now Reynor can potentially build 4-6 Zerglings, run them on the other side of the map, wait until the Reaper shows its head, and then cancel the low ground command center. That being said, though, that's not what's happening. Not in this game. So it's going to be a actually, it's going to be a naked reactor expand, I believe. Yes. Naked reactor expand from Clemens. He gets greedy here in this game number 3. That being said, this is a roach timing from Reynor. 19 drone roach all in, roach pressure, excuse me, with a couple ravagers. And Clem getting this greedy early, it actually is going to work out rather well for him, because having this reactor early on means he's going to have more Marines early on than, say, you know, you go Reaper into 2 Marines into reactor. At that point, you're not going to have all that much on the map by the time the roaches are actually running out on the other side of the map. So this is actually incredibly effective greed from Clem at this point in the game, as the roaches are now on their way out, and we have a factory just about done. That being said, there is no tech lab. I mean, you don't build an early tech lab against Zerg pretty much at all. So it's not like there are going to be any cyclones on the high ground waiting for that to happen. And, by the way, the SCV has been killed off, so Clem is not going to have really much of any warning here to see that the roaches are running onto the other side of the map. Now, the command center is done, so that will be able to be lifted off. And, oh, interesting. I don't know whether this is game sense. This is just Clem saying, hey, I know that my opponent opened pool first. There are a couple different things that he can do that just make me really sad. So I'm going to get a Widowmine early on and just make life a little bit... Okay, yeah. What did he see? I don't believe he got into the mineral line and to see how many workers were mining at the natural. So this is just a bold read here from Reynor, because, I mean, you could open pool first and not do this. But considering this is Reynor here, nice on burrow there. So it looks like the Widowmine is going to die anyways, but the Zerglings, they're going to be baited on the high ground just a little bit more. Bunker should complete here. There we go. The extra SCV. Bunker will finish, and we're going to have to see a repair there, though. Yeah, repair immediately forced. A couple of SCVs are going to go down, and the bunker does complete. Not for very long, though, as it does go down. That means the Ravager is now dead. And suddenly, now these roaches, they're in the low ground, but they're not going to get all that. I mean, they're going to get, what, 1 SCV as the Marines look to chase them all down. And yeah, I mean, roaches against Marines can be fairly decent in low numbers on either side, but it looks like, yeah, Clem has more than enough here to deal with these roaches, especially with his micro. I mean, it's not that fancy micro, but he will save an extra Marine there. That's an extra 50 minerals that he doesn't have to spend, which means, hey, that's an extra SCV. That's extra mining for the little corporal as he looks to get on into the mid game. So Reynor, he did not get anywhere near the amount of damage he was looking for. With a build like that, you're looking to force the low ground command center to lift. You're looking to find your way onto the high ground. You're looking to kill, 5, 10, 15 SCVs. At the very least, you're looking to force a lot of repairs. You're looking to kill off some supply depots and supply block the Terran for the time being. In this game, none of that happened. So now we're going to have this 7 Marine drop on into the high ground. And yeah, it does nest him. That's fine. If he can assassinate some queens here, that is going to be the best possible situation here for Clem. I mean, it's hard to engage on creep, but Zergling speed is not done. And these queens really don't have a lot to them. So Clem just going to sit here on the edge of creep. Doesn't want to dive on in too far because, again, Zergling speed is going to be done any second now. And, well, the queens can get on top of things. But now one queen's going to go on down. Second queen going to get target fired. No, Clem just says, okay, you know what? I will absolutely trade 1 or 2 Marines for a queen. Oh, 100%. That is worthwhile here in the extreme. So now Zerglings, I mean, the Zergling speed is done. So the time of this 5, 6, 7 Marine drop is now done, but it has paid for itself in blood as the queen is dead, which means, again, less creep spread, less injects, less transfuses, less all these things that the early game Zerg wants to make sure that they don't die. Oh, the bait there. You love to see it. So Clem, he just kind of paused for a second. Oh, wait, is he going to get this queen? Yes, he does. Okay, yeah, Clem just on top of everything this game. I love the bait, by the way, with those Hellions. You would expect them to keep running, but Clem just hold positions them for a second, waits for the Zerglings to run on by because Reynor has clicked past that to get the surround, and then just able to get a couple solid volleys, and B, just get on top of it. But now we're going to have the push coming on in here in earnest. It's a hellbat push coming on in as the roaches are now going down. They just jumped on top of. Now the medevac is getting very low, and that's going to cause some problems. The medevac is now dead. But this Banshee in the sky with diamonds is causing even more problems with these extra Marines as well. Hellbats just finding so much value, and there are just not enough queens to make this all happen. So the Banshees, they're just gonna, at a certain point, they're just going to reign supreme in this game. And now the Banshees, they're gonna get on top of everything. The Hellbats as well. 9 workers go down immediately. The queens, they're doing what they can, but what they can is not good enough, as now the death total is 13. Reynor, he is falling apart. His life is over here in this game number 3. He tried for some roach pressure. It did not work out in the slightest. And now as the roaches get barbecued, Clem, he's going to take a 2-1 lead here in this best of 5 lower bracket. So Reynor tried something fancy in games number 2 and 3. It worked once. It didn't work the other time. And now we're getting into bigger maps. Map number 4 here is 2,000 atmospheres. And with Clem on match point, I don't know how willing Reynor is to go for another all-in, another early game pressure build to try to make something happen. Because eventually you just kind of get to that point, and when your tournament life is on the line and you are Reynor, I don't care that you're playing in, you're playing on vacation, you're playing on a mobile hotspot. You know that you can take an insane late game. You know you can play these games into the mid game, into the late game, and go toe-to-toe against Clem. And therefore, I don't think with your life on the line here, I don't think you go for a Nidus play again. It doesn't make any sense to me. This is Reynor, this is Clem. We got to have at least one really back and forth game before the series is over. And it looks like that is what we're going to get here in this game for Reynor. He's just going for a standard expand. Clem as well. And on a map like this, I don't expect Nidus play. Not when you have a map that is not nearly as Terran favored as, say, an Oxide, which is part of the reason, honestly, why Reynor did go for that build, I assume. Oxide is a pretty rough map in the mid game and the late game against a Terran player if you are Zerg. It's not Beckett. But luckily, in best of 5, Zerg players have a ban still, so they don't have to play Beckett. And this is not, oh, wow, Bayo plays Zerg. Balance one. It's just Beckett is not, it's just a very difficult map for Zerg players to win on at this highest level. There's just so many choke points, so many strong tank pushes, and with a 28-second rest distance, natural to natural, I mean, what are you going to do? 2,000 atmospheres is not a map like that. It is not intensely Terran favored. It is a map that Reynor's got to be pretty comfortable on. It allows him to take 4 bases rather easily. He has a little bit more room to deal with Terran production cycles finding their way on over. So at that point, I mean, Reynor's got to be pretty happy. Also, notice once again, Clem has been rather aggressive with his Reaper here, so this should allow for a rather aggressive creep tumor. But no, actually, Clem on his what is that? 2 HP Reaper, 13 HP Reaper. Yeah, he's going to be able to force that creep tumor back just a little bit. Not optimal for Reynor, but again, having a creep tumor that actually goes down is far more optimal than, well, doing the quote-unquote best one and having it just not go down whatsoever because the Reaper snipes it. So nice little bit of respect there from Reynor, and the third base is going to go down. We have more and more queens coming on in as well as Reynor just macroing up. No quick lair, nothing like that. And Clem, for his part, well, he's got his third command center underway, additional barracks as well. Looks like he's gone for like a 1-1 into a third CC build. Just a bit of greed. Again, this is 2,000 atmospheres. You can get away with just a little bit of greed. All right, so with the third command center done and more Hellions starting to hit the field, this is going to be Clem's notification to just, again, not do anything super crazy. I don't think we're going to see him dive into the main base with Hellions 2x2 like we saw in game number 1. I mean, it got the value, but also it's just so atypical of Zerg play or Terran play that it's going to work once and then, well, Reynor's just going to be a little bit more adapted to it. So just play on the edges of creep. Of course, creep tumors having a light tag now does make life a little bit more difficult. And interesting, we saw Clem just try to target down that. I mean, I don't think you're ever going to kill that larva fast enough, but you know, some any damage is damage, right? We do see that grenade go on down just to allow the Hellions to try to get a shot off without taking any bits of damage. But no, they're not going to get too much, and well, the game stabilizes. We're not going to have a game number 1 where Clem got just about like 9 drones early on with Hellion play early on, and then with the Banshees later. And we're not going to have a game number 2 or 3 where one player just really tries to get aggressive off of a weird build. Or actually, sorry, where Reynor tries to get aggressive off of some early game timing, and one game it works, one game it doesn't. 5th base going down, or 4th base going down right around 5 minutes. 3rd base as well, and yeah, this game, folks, this is shaping up to be the game that we were looking for just a little bit. That being said, we had a very similar game to that in game number 1. Granted, Clem got more damage done early, and that is something we have to take into consideration. But in this game, well, Clem looked rather strong in game number 1. But now it's time for the Marines to hit the field. We have stim done, combat shields underway, 1-1 underway as well. And we're going to have like a 20-30 second timing window where Clem will have 1-1 versus the 0-0 of his opponent. If everything stands as it is, if Reynor makes sure that he gets his 1-1 on time, which he is, there we go. So now this double drop is going to find its way on in. No banelings on the field just yet, not that I see at the very least. But there are more than enough queens. Getting 6 queens here to force the creep to defend this drop, well, yeah, there's just too much bulk here. There's too much, not even DPS. Queens don't kill things all that quickly, but there's too much bulk. But hey, you know what? If Clem finds Reynor sleeping, he's going to knock a queen down just like that. Ooh, tasty queens. They're going to get fricasseed as they move on in. And as I've been talking about this entire series, I mean, knocking down a cream is so much more impactful than, you know, getting 6 lings or something. They cost the same, but I mean, queens just have so much utility on the map. Transfuses, injects, spreading the creep, that is so useful. But also, look at this creep spread. This is really interesting. In part, it is Reynor just spreading creep where Clem isn't, and not spreading creep where Clem is. But he's got a really strong bastion fork in the middle of the map, and now Bailey's looking to roll on into the 3rd base. Clem not quite paying attention. 13 workers go down all of a sudden. And I mean, you know this was coming here, Clem. Whenever that really first bit of Terran aggression starts to show itself on the 4th base, you know a player as good as Reynor is going to move on in and do what he can to run by into the 3rd base. And it looks like this 4th base is going to go down, which is not great. But killing 13 workers makes it much more doable, much more sustainable here for Reynor as he moves on into the mid-game. And 1-1, well, it's going to be about a 20-second timing window, as we were saying. Not a lot for Clem to really take advantage of, especially, again, with how good this creep spread has been. That being said, creep spread in the middle of the map, it's gone. It's not quite as good as it was. It looks like this drop on the left-hand side is going to get cleaned on up as the little Zergling run by on the right side, holding that Zelnaga tower, is going to get knocked on down by the drop here. And even more importantly, the creep on the high ground on the right side onto that 3 o'clock position, it's going to get knocked on down, which means that Clem is going to have a much more powerful pushing position and dropping lane later on into this game. So now we're going to see the 2 minivacs go on into the high ground as Clem looking to just do that thing that won him game number 1. Turn up the taps on the multitasking, attack in 2 or 3 locations at once, and force Reynor to be uncomfortable. Force Reynor to have to respond to the utter speed that the young Frenchman has in store. So now this drop's going to show on up. One of my shots, well, they're not going to do much. The Queens, of course, take 2 of my shots to die, but hey, you know what? Energy force, and the Queen dies anyways. Now we're going to see the Marines just put themselves in a really nice position here behind the mineral line. But this actually isn't all that bad. Nice cleanup here for Reynor, strictly because if you look at the minimap, Clem's push on the left side, it's not really there. Not yet. You kind of expect him to just go start that push on the left-hand side as he's microing on the right. That's just kind of what Clem has trained us for in these games. You know what? He's kind of doing it anyways with this little bit of a push, but the big deal, of course, is sniping down those Queens on the right side. As now as Zerglings, Banelings running on in. We talked about Lightshade as this map that has like 3 distinct pushing lanes. Well, 2000 Atmospheres is very similar indeed. So Reynor's almost always going to have a run by into the Terran 3rd base, into the Terran 4th base, as Clem is pushing, because you can just get your Zerglings, your Banelings out rather easily. So now Banelings going to look to get the connections that they need, and they absolutely do so here. This push from Clem not microed quite as well as it would like. We're going to see 14 workers go on down. The armory dies as well. So, well, Widow Mines, they're no longer going to be cloaked, and they will not have +1 care or a +1 plating like they otherwise would. So again, this is the Reynor that we've been looking for in the first couple games. I mean, it's hard to tell what state Reynor's in when he's just, you know, all-inning. But this is the Reynor we were looking for in game number 1 that he just was not quite able to show us. We saw glimpses of it, and he had some good run-bys, had some decent multitasking. But he took too much damage in the early game, I think, for him to really feel comfortable. And we just started to see Clem's supply grow and grow and grow and grow. But in this game, Reynor's the one with the supply lead. Reynor's the one that has been able to maintain his economy so much better. The friendly fire on those Widow Mines is going to knock down a full half of that army. And Clem is going to be forced to go on home. This 4th base will not be allowed to stand up as Banelings roll on into the 3rd base as well, testing the Observer. For all he's worth, the base is now dead. And that wasn't even a planetary. Clem could have lifted it. But again, this is a game where Reynor now is stressing the multitasking of Clem, not the other way around. And yeah, maybe his creep spread is only on the middle of the map, but that means that it is a long push here for Clem to do anything. He's down a base. He's down on 43 workers, and yeah, he's at 2-2, but he's not going to have 3-3 for quite a time. And you love to see it. Burrow is now done. We're going to have bird Banelings all over the place, I assume. At the very least, Zerglings burrowed on top of the expand locations. And this is Reynor starting to show us the games that we have known he is so capable of, and oh man, what a sight to see it is. Zergling's going to run on in to this 3rd base once again, getting on top of the factory. Ideally, if he could target down the drilling claw upgrade, that would be fantastic, but no, he's not going to target fire that one down, not just yet. The rally is there in time, but what he has done, he's forced Clem off the creep. He actually, I believe there was a scan that was wasted, and that actually did not get any of the creep tumors. Oh, the burrowed Banelings as well. We're not even going to see what that happens as Banelings look to run on in. Oh, it's just gonna barely miss. That's unfortunate. That's all. Oh. Burr Banelings. There we go. GG, just like that. The Banelings explode. Clem explodes. Everyone explodes. And everyone falls out as game number 4 goes to Reynor. And folks, in this lower bracket quarterfinals, we're going to game 5. So now we're into game number 5. This one is for all the marbles. And we saw Reynor playing to his full potential in game number 4. Run-bys all over the place. Of note, of course, the typical run-by of, 6 Banes into a 3rd base right as Baneling speed is done, right as the Terran push starts in earnest. And, honestly, Clem probably should have been expecting that, as that is almost the meta at this point, especially with a player like Reynor. But no, he was caught off guard and lost something like 23 workers over those first couple run-bys. just putting him really on the back foot as the game did go on. And while he tried, he found some damage. He just was not able to snowball it like he did in game number 1. And that means now that we're in game number 5. And with the map being Romanticide, folks, I think we're in for a treat. Romanticide has given us some of the best games of the last couple map pools, because Romanticide has been in the ladder pool for literally over a year at this point. Because that's just how Blizzard works in 2021, unfortunately. But yeah, Romanticide, last week, I think earlier this week, last week was the 1-year anniversary of Romanticide in the map pool, so that's fun. As now we do have, of course, a Reaper expand from Clem. No naked reactor in this game number 5. He's just trying to play as middle of the road as possible, trusting in his ability to take the mid game, trusting in his ability to get damage done in the mid game. And Reynor, I think we're going to see a similar thing. I mean, this is, again, 16, 18, 17. Okay, it's a game on Romanticide. It's game 5. I don't think we're going to see either Clem or Reynor really put all their eggs in the basket of some sort of crazy build. No. This is both players looking just to play their best and, well, put on a show. Now, it should be noticed here is we're sitting here in the last game of the series. Whoever loses this game in the lower bracket quarterfinals does not advance to the fall event. And a fall season or a fall season finals without Reynor or Clem, of course, one of the triumvirate in Europe. Well, that is that's almost unconscionable. That's almost unbelievable. But here we are as both Clem and Reynor in the lower bracket rather early on. Reynor, of course, falling down early, and Clem in that marathon, in that incredible series against Marine Lord. Well, yeah, there's nothing more to say about that. Make sure to go check that VOD out if you get the opportunity. That should be posted up rather soon as well. But now, okay, the Reaper will die a little bit early. Of course, speed done at 3:30, so kind of sacrificing the Reaper against the Queen has got to be a little bit of a misclick. I wouldn't expect Clem to sacrifice that early on. It's not like he was going to get anything. But now we're going to have the Overload go on in, and it's going to get its normal scout off. It's going to say, hey, you know what? There's an option here that this is going to be Hellion Banshee, and considering how... Yeah, okay, it's going to be Hellion Banshee. This is not something that really Clem is going to try to hide. Hellion Banshee is just so common at this point that it's just you just open as the Zerg player like it's going to happen. And just go from there. I mean, you get queens, you get queen. Oh, it's not going to be Hellion Banshee. In this game number 5, we're going to see a build that we see ever so rarely, even as it is theory crafted, to be rather strong with the creep nerf, right? Making creep light units. Is you get the Hellion, you get a bunch of Hellions, and then you get a Raven, and just get free detection and knock down so much creep. Just really curtail the Zerg on their quadrant of the map and make life so damn difficult. But now the Hellions are gonna look to dive on in to the main base here, and they're just no Zerglings on the map. I mean, they're starting to pop out now as Zergling speed is done. Reynor, he tried to cut the corner just a little bit. He's like, there are only 4 Hellions. What's the matter? How much of a difference is it gonna make? Well, we're gonna have to see. Is now only 2 Hellions do remain, and what a hold here from Reynor, only losing 3 workers to 4 Hellions as they dive in the main base when you had 4 Zerglings on the map. Well, that is absolutely masterclass there. Well done from Reynor, really minimizing the damage to something that is incredibly sustainable. But now the Raven will get scattered out if it was not already, and I don't believe it was. Reynor doesn't really have much vision on his opponent's side of the map anymore. But now the Raven's just going to drop an auto turret. Drones are going to have to be pulled here. And, oh, no, it's not going to work. The clutch transfuse wasn't going to keep the drone alive, but then the drone rallied back into the range of the auto turret. And actually, auto turret's going to get a queen too. That's not what Reynor wanted. I'm kind of surprised to not see the Raven paired up with the Hellions at this point. Actually, the Raven's going to take a lot of damage. So, I mean, I like the idea as the Hellions look to dive on in once again. The Queen, the Zerglings all out of position. And are they going to get what they need to get done here? Actually, Circling's on the other side of the map, and that means that there's just nothing here to defend. So 6 workers are going to go down instantaneously from both sides. Still 5 Hellions on the map as 9 drones do go down. And, well, 4 Hellions still remain. And, of course, almost equally as important at this point is the fact that the mining time here has been tremendously delayed. But now the Hellions are going to start to go on down. It's 11 drones for 6 SCVs. And that's going to go Clem's favor, but he did lose 10 Hellions in the process. 4 early on, 6 now. Or actually 8 now? Yeah, 10 Hellions overall. And that does mean that he's not going to have quite the advantage again with, he got a couple more workers, but losing so much map control, it's not for the best. I mean, again, Hellions at this point in the game, they're not nearly as impactful as they would otherwise be. But I mean, we saw what Clement did in that game number 1, right? He just had those 4 Hellions poking on the edge of things, forcing Reynor to overcommit, or not even overcommit, just commit to the left side of the map. And that allowed his pushes on the right side to be even more impactful. But that's just not going to happen in this game, as we're just going to have to see what Clem can do without the distracting force of, 4-6 Hellions, say, surviving that much longer into the game. But at least, at the very least, it's going to be a good drop here into the main base. Is the Raven still alive? It is. Where is that Raven, actually? Okay, fully repaired. Moving on back in with the main army. That's what you want to see. And again, Ravens, if you keep them alive, nice split there, but the Wood Mine will still find value, especially now getting picked up. So let's see. 1 scan is 250 minerals. That means in order to find value here with this Raven, you need to assassinate, say, a queen and 2 drones, or 5 drones, right? That's kind of the calculus there. Otherwise, you're probably better using the Raven to remove creep. So anyway, nice Widowmine, or sounds like a Widowmine shot off screen. Didn't quite see that, but hey, 3 more workers do go down. So we're starting to achieve kind of cost effectiveness here with this Raven. It's this drop on the right hand side, knocking down a bunch of queens, and this is in part because Reynor has been focusing on a drop of his own coming onto the natural here. 4 banelings. Clem, is he on top of things? The answer is no. Carpet bombing workers here, and 10 workers go down in the blink of an eye. Both players trading punches, and now the Widowmine drops coming on in. 14 drones go down. Actually, 1 Widowmine's not even going to trigger. And there we go. All right. Things getting a little bit more equalized. Now oh, look at this position that Marines have found their way in. There's a reason you kind of try not to do this in your main base with your spawning pool early on, anything like that. It just provides Hellions and Marines just such a wonderful position to fight into. That means the Zerglings are just always going to filter on in, and they're always, even with the Baneling connections here, it's going to be cost-efficient trades for the Terran player. Now, +2 attack getting started. Now, notice Reynor, he feels like he's taking enough damage done in the early game that he only got 1. Interesting, yeah, his carapace was much faster than his melee. As we saw Reynor, he was attempting to fake out his opponent, say, yeah, I'm absolutely doing another Baneling drop, when he's not. But Clem's not falling for it, as now the bio's going to find more and more queens. How many queens is that? Over? This is 6 queens now dead. And look, it's going to be even more. Clem now stimming on in, looking to find that advantage that is going to punch Reynor out of this game, punch Reynor out of this series, and put him and keep him out of the season finals. But Reynor, he still has Banelings. Somehow those Banelings that are morphing are going to complete their morph here. But the big concave on top of this 4th base, Clem's splits are impeccable. The Banelings just not getting connections that they're looking for. The run by the flank coming in from behind will force Reynor back, or will force Clem back. But still, Reynor, he's only on 69 workers. The drop here behind the mineral line looks like it's going to almost get this base down. Not quite. But Clem, he's trying his damnedest to knock this 5th base down. And as this happening, of course, drop into the 4th base as well. This is what makes Clem so scary. He's so gosh darn fast. As the Widow Mines. Nice splits from Reynor, but it's still going to be, again, tremendous value. So the run by is going to try to find something, but defensive Widow Mines really just means it's training army for army, and that is always going to favor Clem in this game. As now the 5th base is going to go on down here, and it is a 4-base Terran against a 4-base Zerg, where Clem, he's up 30 army supply. Well, I guess 20 army supply. 30 supply in total. His 2-2 just about done. Reynor has forgotten his. He has been so stressed. Well, I'm not sure whether it's forgotten or just didn't have the money, but either way, He's been under so much pressure this game that his 2-2 has not yet been started. And that means that Clem's timing, his 2-2 versus 1-1 timing, is going to be absolutely disastrous here for the Italian Zerg as well. Marines, they fire real fast. Means the attack upgrades are just so impactful. And again, well, Zerglings attack fast too, so armor even better. And now, well, the Widowmine shot's actually going to be really nice from a friendly fire perspective, but yeah, the last of those suddenly doesn't matter as much anymore. So many Zerglings do go on down. Now, Clem's not going to be able to get too much done with this army, but still. He's just finding value wherever he can. Now, the lack of a wall here is a bit annoying. Oh, that target fire. 10 workers do go down. All right, so now +3 attack underway, +2 armor just about done here for Clem. He's going to have that +2 upgrade lead for just about forever in this game. I mean, I guess technically it's closer to like 60 seconds, but it feels like forever. As I'm not even sure what that medevac is doing necessarily. Just looking to make Reynor scared. Yeah, that's what it is. Much like we saw the fake drop earlier on. Reynor has committed so much to this defense on the left-hand side because this is what's mining right now, that he just is not really in position just yet to deal with the pressure on the right side. So this 5th base is going to go down once again. Of course, Drilling Claws mean that these Widow Mines are just so terrifying. Here's another queen goes down. Count it, folks. That's 10 dead queens over the course of this game. As now Reynor's going to try to clean this thing up, but now he's supply blocked as well. Widow Mine shots are going to be decent. But this is not an army from Clem. This is not a killer army just yet. It's powerful, sure, but it's not just the 1A fist of Clem. More like the fingers of Clem. Slowly grasping at the Zerg armies that tries to make something happen. Now the Widow Mines are going to burrow in on top of all of these Banelings. Yeah, the Banelings will just not complete. Notice, of course, Concussive Shell is done, so adding a couple Marauders in at this point is really nice. It means it's just pretty much free Banelings, as the Widow Mines are going to look to burrow on in once again. Reynor, his back's against the wall. He's only on 4 bases against now a 5-base turn. He's got to make some miracles happen if he wants to find a way on into this game. He wants to equalize, even if he wants to find his way into the lower bracket semis. All these things are difficult. All these things are going to require a miracle as the Widow Mine shots are just exploding. And oh, look at that. So much damage here from Clemens. He's up almost 100 supply. Reynor, he's selling out for this last-ditch effort, this last-ditch hold. But what does he have? He's got a couple Lings, a couple Banes. He's down 70 army supplies. This one Marauder's trying to do what he can. The splits of Reynor are not going to be enough to match the splits of Clem. As yes, he's going to be forced back for a time being. He's only forced back for his rally at this point. 60 army supply lead for the Little Corporal. And how does Reynor defend? How is he going to be able to keep this 4th base up any longer? The army's just not there. And yes, 2-2 versus 2-2. That is equalized, but it's about to be 3-2 and soon 3-3 versus 2-2. And that is the timing that has given Zergs nightmares for years. It was the timing that just defined the matchup for an entire expansion. And now the Banelings are going to look to roll on in. Plus, their attack is not even going to be necessary. 121 army supply to 26. GG Reynor says he will not be playing in the season finals, and Clem advances further on to the lower bracket semis.